In this episode, we are going to cover cost of ownership. So if you're in the market looking for a sailboat and curious about cost of ownership, or you already have a boat and trying to get more information about maintenance or berthing, you may find the upcoming content helpful. Welcome back to CB Sailing. My name is Kıvanç and I own a 2016 Elan Impression 45. Although the information and the pricing I'm going to share in this episode applies to this specific boat, it can be generalized for any similarly sized and spec'd production cruiser. In previous episode, we covered the facilities, the lift experience, the rudder bearing replacement, sail drive and folding prop service, bow thruster service, and underwater works. If you have not seen the first episode, you can find the link on the upper right corner. In this episode, we are going to cover the major engine service, including a complete engine overhaul, and major sail drive service, including removal of the sail drive and gasket replacement. Our fourth project overall and first project in this episode is the engine overhaul and major engine service. So today is the day they are going to take the engine out of the engine bay. So far, so the heat exchanger has been removed, the exhaust elbow is removed, the water pump is gone, the alternator is gone so far, the air filter element is gone. So what we opted out for is the Volvo recommends the seal for the sail drive to be changed every 7 years, and that's this seal right here. It's a fairly big job, but in order for the mechanic to take the sail drive, the rubber sealing off, they need to remove the engine. So that's what's going to happen today. As usual, we do not accept sponsored content. All goods and services mentioned here or any of our episodes are paid out of pocket by us from our hard-earned money. With 3 people on the job and the accumulated experience and the wisdom over the years, the whole process of lifting the engine out of the engine bay took about 30 minutes.
Hadi indir.
Now the engine is out of the way, the next step is removing the sail drive. So Ahmet has access to the saildrive diaphragm. For those of you who are interested, CB is equipped with a naturally aspirated Volvo D255 power unit, paired with a saildrive with reverse gear. Tamam. If your boat is equipped with one of these saildrives and you always wondered how much of an opening there is, or you have reservations or concerns about buying a boat with a saildrive versus a traditional shaft drive because of the opening, I hope these visuals give you an idea of the size of the through hole. This is the saildrive gasket that came out of the boat. It appears to be in pretty good shape. CB is 2016 model, and this is the original gasket. Upon close examination, I honestly thought it would have been fine if we didn't replace it. So, perhaps every 7 years may have been an overkill, but we'd love to hear your thoughts about it. Around mid-April, the dry dock in Marmaris is so full, it is becoming difficult to find my way around. Here's a quick look of the heat exchanger and the membrane at the workshop. And here are the exhaust elbow, the starter motor, and the raw water pump being worked on in the workshop by Ahmet.
Beyazlaşma başlıyor. Onu temizleyeceğim, bakacağım. Bir polish yapayım da. Güneşli? Güneşli değil, şeyde katamaramdayım. Ha. Vay muhtar, hoş geldin. Ne yaptın böyle? Aynı. Döküm yapıyor. Oldu. Bir de şimdi İsveç.
Well, today marks day 9 and they started putting the engine back together. Give you guys a quick update of what is going on. So they put the heat exchanger back in place. What they did with this is they open it up and there's actually a membrane inside. They cleaned that up and then they put it back and they said it wasn't in good shape, so they didn't have to replace it. The second thing they did was the opening to the exhaust elbow right over here, it was rusted, and I have videos for that too. I'll put it up. So they sent that to machine shop and they renewed that opening to the exhaust elbow. The exhaust elbow is new. The one that came with the engine I think it is a known issue for Volvo Pentas as well as the Yanmars. The fact that they use iron for the exhaust elbow, and then as you know, there's like a lot of water goes through this, and then what happens eventually is that things gets rusted. And I have videos for that previous exhaust elbow too, so you can see how it looks like after 6 years and 1100 hours of use. So this unit I bought it from United States. I think the company is called HDI Marine, and it is stainless steel, so it's supposed to hold well. The guys here in Marmaris TMS, they were impressed by this unit. So okay, what else is going on here? So I think on the back of the engine, that's probably it. Moving to the front, so as far as I can tell, the alternator is still out. They have sent that to testing. So we're waiting for that. The water pump assembly is out. I think they're refinishing it. It's in the shop. I saw it earlier. And then, you know, the belts and all that other stuff is also missing at the front of the engine. So what we are waiting for at this point is the seal for the saildrive. So we are waiting for this part to arrive so they can put the saildrive back in. So that seal goes between the saildrive and the hull of the boat. So it's just crazy. I learned yesterday that, and that's the piece that actually separates the water and the boat. So it's a very important piece. It's a rubber sealing that keeps the water out of the boat. And as you can see, there's a considerable size amount of hole in there. So if that fails, you're in big trouble. So Volvo recommends it to be changed every 7 years. I think they started with 7 years, but now the recommendation is to change it every 5 years. You know, I've seen boats that have never changed it and they've been sailing for 15 years. But you know, I have decided to replace it. You know, as an opportunity for being on the heart so this long. I think that's a good time for us to take care of that. So yeah, I think we may have the engine back in the place today. I believe the part is going to arrive today. So these guys are here are very efficient. So you know, I watched them taking the engine off and the saildrive off, and took you know, 20-25 minutes max to get everything out of the boat. And I'm assuming it's going to be probably about the same to put it back in.
Sürüyor mu? Ne zaman kuruyor? Sefo. Ha? Yakın mı kuruyor? Hemen kuruyor mu?
İyi yaptım ya.
Abi çekebilirsiniz.
Bu hasta kardeşim yapıp
Bu küflü olan ter değil mi burası?
Şu kaynakla doldu. Şurası.
Ahmet takes the opportunity of the engine being out of the engine bay to service the engine before it goes back in.
Mustafa, benim çalışma masası var ya.
Evet usta.
Tam menginenin karşısında tornavidanın durduğu yerde şöyle 3 ayaklı şey vardır.
Çektirme.
Filtre.
Ben gidiyorum Ahmet abi.
Tamam. Şimdi.
Yoğundur o.
Şimdi Nisan'ın birinde iniyor denize. Tekne bayağı
Kaç büyük mü tekne?
kaç bir orta şeyler. Evet.
As soon as the saildrive gasket arrived later that day, the work began immediately to put everything back together.
Bu yeni. Şimdi bak. Yok o değil. Şimdi bak. Ben bunu aşağı indireceğim.
Evet.
Altından hafif kaldıracaksın yukarı. Yerine oturtturuncaya dek.
Tamam.
Bir dakika. Yukarı şey yapacaksın. Böyle kaldır. Öyle tut.
It took two people about 15 minutes to put the drive back in place.
Şu.
To learn more about the complete saildrive service, please check our first episode. I will provide the link on the upper right corner. Now the saildrive is in place, the next job is to put the engine back where it belongs to. Just like lifting the engine, lowering it back to the engine bay was a three-person effort. Ahmet, bir dur.
Efendim?
Bu boru burada sıkıştı arkada.
Tamam. O sen arkaya gitsin. Boruya egzoz borusu galiba şey oldu. Bir dakika.
Tamam. Gelsin biraz daha.
Salla.
Şöyle yapalım. Şimdi biraz daha yukarı çek. Heh, şöyle olsun.
Orada.
Bir yere daha da bak.
Bir kenarına kalıyor.
The trick here is to align the engine with the saildrive. At this point, we had 4 people. Ahmed the mastermind. There was one person in front of the engine pushing it back, another one on the crane lowering it down, and there was a fourth person underneath the boat rotating the sail drive so the shaft is aligned with the engine.
Gürkan. Aşağı git de motoru bir çevirse.
Şeyi çevirmesi lazım. Pervaneyi bir de şey.
Var bağladım ben.
Evet.
Hafif oynat.
Hem pervaneyi çeksen hem telefonu açık tut. Buradan şey yapalım.
Tamam.
Tamam.
İttir abi tamam. İttir.
Oturuyor.
İttir motoru. Ama dengeli ittir. Bak. Şimdi indir motoru sen.
Hafta indir.
Hafif indir. Ha. Tamam şimdi ittir. Ama bak. Bu tarafı zor açtır. Evet. İttir şimdi.
Telefon.
Açık.
Telefon teknenin gerisine doğru şanzımanı asılsınlar yani birazdan. Azmış.
Teknenin gerisine doğru şanzıman asılsınlar diyor.
Asıl az bir şey.
Asıl.
İttir abi.
Tamam.
İçe doğru.
İçe doğru asıl.
İttir. Oturdu mu?
Oturdu gibi.
Oturalım. Bir dakika. Ya civata takayım ben de. Hayır. Şey yap.
Askan bakıyoruz da.
Kulaklığa çık.
Dur. Civata takayım da. O yüzden.
Once the engine put in place, it was once again a one-man show. Once everything was put in place, we were ready to fire up the engine. For that, we needed water. But the boat being on the heart, I thought this is going to be a problem. But apparently, you can run fresh water through your engine's cooling system, and this is how you do it. All you need to do is identify the intake hose at your raw water filter. The intake hose is usually connected to a through-hole seacock. Disconnect the other hose, not the intake hose, from the raw water filter and attach it to the fresh water source. And make sure you turn the water on before you start your engine. Ahmed made this neat adapter on the fly. On one end, it attaches to the fresh water hose, and the other to the engine coolant intake. I was so amazed with the process, Ahmed ended up giving me the adapter as a present for future use. If you plan on doing this when your boat is floating, please make sure you close your seacock before you start the operation. And after almost 2 months sitting on the heart, CB is finally ready for action. Çalıştırıyorum. Well, this is all looking good. Water pouring out of the exhaust and no warning lights on the instrument panel.
Biraz bırakın.
Şuradan görüntüsü normal mi? Sanki daha sessiz çalışıyormuş gibi yani.
Ya ama yeni ya.
the engine and the sail drive service has been done. I'm quite excited about this. They put everything back together and put it back in the boat. At one point, I gotta tell you, it looked really scary. You got the engine in the galley, and the sail drive was off the boat, the workshop. But nevertheless, they put everything back together, and it's all in the engine now. And we did a run here in the dry dock. I put the video out there for you guys. It was kind of an interesting process. They hook it up to fresh water, and they can actually run the engine. So everything seems to be working fine at this point. Obviously, we need to wait until we are back in the water to test everything that has been done on the boat. Now, let's recall everything that has been done, starting from the front of the engine. So they took the alternator and the starter motor. They separated from the engine. They also separated the heat exchanger from the engine too, for them to get serviced. So with the alternator, they replaced the bushings on them. This is a new belt that I had, so they installed a new belt. The raw water pump, this unit here was leaking, so they replaced the sealing at the front and in the back. Apparently, the problem was the back sealing, not the front, which I thought was the front. But hopefully it will stop leaking now. So anything else up front? So with the heat exchanger, so they took it off. They took it off the engine. They cleaned it inside. So I actually had a chance to look at it. So it looked pretty good, the inside of it. But the problem with that was where it connects to the exhaust sailboat at the back, right over here, it started to get rusted. So one of the things that is common with these engines is the exhaust sailboat here. I don't know why, but they make it from cast iron, probably cost. And when mixed with the salt water, this unit tends to get rusted inside. So you guys need to pay attention to that. And there is a way of tilting that. I will cover that in a minute. So they cleaned it, the heat exchanger element, and they welded the end of it over here where it connects to the exhaust sailboat, and then they refinished it at the machine shop. So it looked pretty good. I will move to the back of the engine and see what else has been done to the engine. Obviously, the boat is a mess at this point. So, the starter unit has been taken off the engine, and it was sent to a specialty shop, and they looked at it and they sent it back. Apparently, it's good. So, the exhaust sailboat, which is over here, as you guys can see, I replaced this hose too that comes out of the exhaust sailboat. So, one of the telltales that you should be paying attention to is if your exhaust elbow is getting rusted inside, or your heat exchanger, you're gonna see some rust residue on this hose. So if you notice a rust residue on this hose, that means either your exhaust elbow, most probably your exhaust elbow, or your heat exchanger is rusting inside. So the big job was this guy right over here, the gasket under the sail drive. So that has been replaced. So in order to do that, as I covered earlier, you have to remove the engine and the sail drive from the boat to get access to that sealing, which is a big job. Okay, so obviously they also did the minor service with the engine. So the fuel filters and the oil filter, there's the pre-filter here, and then the oil filter has been replaced. We got a new oil, and obviously with the heat exchanger we got a coolant flush and a new coolant too. The cost of the major engine service was $1,434, including everything you have seen in this episode. Please note that I provided some of the maintenance parts such as the fluids, filters, and the alternator belt, which is not included in this price. The saildrive gasket replacement cost me another $985, including parts and labor. In the next episode, we are going to cover our grand tackle upgrades, including a brand new anchor. So we are going to replace all sanitary hoses and service the holding tank. And CB gets much needed solar panels and a custom made solar arc along with all new batteries. We're gonna make some improvements to deck safety and service the water heater and much more. So make sure to stay tuned for the upcoming episode of the 3-part series of Cost of Boat Ownership.